Hello and welcome back to another episode on the channel by me, the Wise James. On this episode, just getting into this episode or video of LBC News / radio, and Reform's UK deputy leader was on, Richard Tice. He is the previous leader to Nigel Farage, and he's the guy who put Nigel Farage in charge because he knew he'd do a better job than he did or would. So, I've got some very strong opinions on the man. Let's get into it.
Do you agree?
He's gone off his bike.
Whoops, didn't mean to do that.
Do you agree that it is not illegal to cross the channel in a small boat?
Let's start there. Richard Tice.
No, I don't agree. It is illegal to cross the channel. It's breaking the law. You're entering a sovereign territory without consent. Beginning and end of story. Paul?
No, it's not the end, Richard, because it's not illegal to claim asylum. Therefore, it's not illegal.
It is because you've come through a safe country. End of story. Next.
No, it isn't. Well, why? If what you're saying is correct, because I believe it's not illegal to cross the channel. They're not illegal immigrants. They're asylum seekers, which they're legally entitled to do.
So in which case, why does anybody have any passport control whatsoever? You believe in just total open borders, is that right, Paul?
No, I don't. I think that would be naive, but I think the Calais Asylum Application Centre would be a humane thing that would reduce it. But, Richard, if you are right that it is illegal to cross the channel in a boat, small boat, and seek asylum, why are the people who have done that not being charged with an offence?
Very good question. They should be, because they're breaking the law. But actually, Paul, we can agree. I've said...
But which law are they breaking? The only law... there is no law. They legally can claim asylum. It's just you have to get into the jurisdiction of Britain to be able to claim it. So as soon as they get on a dinghy and are in the jurisdiction of Britain, they can claim asylum. It's an illegal method, but it's not classed as a crime. It's not a criminal offence to get on a boat and come to England. That's not a crime. It's not a legal route, so it's considered an unauthorised, unofficial route, which makes it considered illegal. But under the eyes of the law and the legal systems and the courts, no, it's not. It's not, unfortunately. It's really not. Because they have the legal right of asylum. So the reason why I solved this problem already was you have to stop people getting into British jurisdiction, right? And if you're going to pay the French to resolve it, they're not going to resolve it, are they? They're going to make the situation worse to get more money from you. Because if you did resolve it, why we would stop paying them. So they're not going to resolve it, are they? It's in their interest to make it worse to get more money from us. And these are all mugs. These are all fucking mugs.
Said for, I think, years that the way around this is that the French should do what the Belgians are doing, which is pick up and take back, and then you could have a joint processing centre in Normandy and essentially repeat what the Labour Party did very well 25 years ago, 25 years, where they processed people within literally a fortnight, 2 or 3 weeks. You had a week to appeal, and then you make a decision. And the approximate number then of acceptances was about 20%, plus or minus. Now it's about somewhere in the sort of mid-70s.
It's dropped down to about 45%.
Okay, I hadn't seen that latest data, but and that seems a reasonable thing to do. And you're quite right, Paul, that if it's done in Normandy, then people stop taking that dangerous journey. And sadly, I think over a dozen people have lost their lives this year. I think last year, it was approaching 100 that we're aware of.
So what really annoys me about this is, right, I've literally already solved this problem. And the solution has been handed to the government. It's been handed to Reform. It's been handed to people have seen the solution. But instead of implementing the solution and stopping these boats, like, they would be stopped tomorrow. There would never ever be an illegal boat crossing ever again to the UK, and loads of people get good paid jobs. But no, you all just want to whinge about it, and whinge and whinge and whinge. Migration, asylum, illegal. It's already been solved, you bellends. Implement the solution. It's that simple. I've already solved it. Yous are all pussies. You can't even protect this country. But you think you know what you're talking about. Fuck off.
Who died.
At what stage of this plan would you therefore need to leave the ECH?
Reform don't care about solving the problem. They care about using it to get power. They don't care about solving it, or they would be pushing the solution.
As his reforms policy.
We should leave the ECHR anyway, because that is a system that is now...
He only wants to leave the European Court of Human Rights so that they can take further workers' rights away from English, British people. It's got nothing to do with migration. They're using that as a front for power. The Tories did the same thing. They wanted out the ECHR to erode workers' rights. They don't want you to have paid holidays. They don't want you to be allowed to go to the doctors. They want to be able to sack you for whatever reason they want, and you to have no rights. That's what Reform want. That's what the Tories wanted. And if you vote for them, that's what you're going to get.
Are being just abused very significantly by lawyers.
How would that help the small boats issue?
Because what you wouldn't have is lawyers making claims, ridiculous claims, spurious claims on human rights ground that are replicated in the Human Rights Act, that where you end up with people saying, I need to stay in the UK because it's my right, because, because for example, I don't get the right sort of chicken nuggets or the right sort of pizzas.
But if you don't have a returns agreement with the country that they need to be sent to, you can't return them anyway, regardless of the ECHR.
Fundamentally, if you process people in France, then what you do is you dramatically reduce the pull factor. I think I heard some data this today. 1 in 3 of people going through continental Europe illegally are doing so with the ambition of getting to the United Kingdom, because we are seen as the soft touch, the most generous on benefits.
The French
and the most
We are the easiest, softest touch. You've all become pussies, to be honest. You've all become pussies.
likely, and the most likely, therefore, not to be returned. And look, when our asylum system was working 20 plus years ago, we were accepting, give or take, about 20,000 every year.
So we were accepting about 20,000 every year under the last Labour government, right? Which is still, quite a lot, but nothing really, because at the minute, it's fucking 20,000 a day, 2,000 a year. It's ridiculous. All because of Nigel Farage's Brexit implementing the current rules, regulations and laws. And everyone just goes, well, Labour had worse migration. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. So they just ignore all the figures and back the guy who's caused the migration problem to solve it. I've already solved it. Literally already done. Implement the solution and stop whinging like little bitches. Yous are all useless. Yous couldn't protect this country. So why do you think you should be having the power to keep trying? None of you should. None of you. You're all weaklings. Cowards and weaklings. Because otherwise, people wouldn't be walking through our front door because there's no door. We don't have a front door at the minute in the UK. We live in a gazebo. People just walk in and walk out. It's not a house with security and a door you need to knock on. No, it's a fucking gazebo. People just waltz in, take what the fuck they want and waltz out. Bell ends.
Where you accept people and you qualify people who want to integrate, who want to work, who want to learn the language and abide by our rules. And that, Paul, comes back to your point about welcoming strangers into your house. Yes, but when they come into your house, they need to abide by your laws and values. Is it right?
They have to fucking knock on the door as well, and you have to let them in. They can't just walk in and say, well, I'm here now, you can't get rid of me.
To be granting payments for people with mild anxiety, depression, and mild mental health issues. And before I get jumped on, of course, serious mental health is a horrific illness. We all accept that. But having a bad day, a bad week, is not a cause for making a lifestyle choice to claim anxiety and claim benefits. It's just...
We'll come on to benefits in just a moment. Specifically on Daniel's point about your tax cuts, raising the threshold at which you start paying income tax to, I think, £20,000 from
12,500.
500. How much is that going to cost?
It's about 40 billion.
Not according to the IFS, it's double that.
And that's why I said earlier, because the IFS numbers are completely ridiculous. Frankly, a juvenile forecast made on the back of a fag packet. Serious economists.
What's your number based on?
My base is based on the calculations of 3 different economists.
Who?
And I'm not going to give their names.
Why?
But
Why?
Because
Cite your sources, dickhead.
sometimes people give you advice privately, and that's why you go to 2 or 3 different.
Oh yeah, so people told you what you wanted to hear privately, so you're not willing to tell their names publicly. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That just shows how disingenuous he is. Like, this guy, Richard Tice, was leader of a political party, and he sat there and he went, do you know what it is? I can't do this very well. There's actually a guy out there who's better for this job than me. I know. I'm going to get the guy who caused the mass migration problem we have right now, and going to make him out to be the guy who's going to solve it. And magically, it's fucking working on you lot. You're buying it. You're literally buying it. I don't get it. I don't get it. You might as well make me Prime Minister. A vote for Pope is a vote for hope.
People.
So we just trust you on the basis of 3 anonymous economists.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? I tell you what, lots of voters are trusting us. That's why we won.
No, they're not. Thing is, these voters don't actually trust reform. They just don't trust the Tories, and they don't trust Labour that much. They're willing to give these guys a chance. That's all it is. It's not that they trust reform. It's that Labour and the Tories have given everyone no option but to turn to someone else. And they happen to be the only other gig in town. So everyone's going there.
The council elections and the mayoral elections.
But people want to see some reality.
Hey, Sainsbury's. They're growing quicker than my budget. Any help?
Well, Colin.
People could try and sit there and say to me, oh, well, there's the Lib Dems, and there's the Greens, and there's the SNP. They have no serious ambitions for power, right? They don't intend to take over the government, to take over the cabinet, and to take over the power of the UK. The Green Party just want to pretend to save trees and use it as a method of tax evasion. The Lib Dems, they have got ambitions, sure, but after the last time, they'd rather be waiting for the right moment than get into the bed with the Tories or Labour or some other divvies again, because it nearly destroyed the Lib Dems having Nick Clegg renege his promise that student loans wouldn't go up. Student loans went up, London went up, rioting. There was fucking rioting in every street in London. So, the Lib Dems are only just coming back to where they were, and they've got no chance, to be honest. They're not, it's a waste of a vote, if I'm honest. It's a waste of a vote. They're not going to get power, they're not going to make a difference, and Ed Davies is going to continue making stupid videos on TikTok of him dancing in front of Westminster, right? That's politics right now. So, anyone who wants to change the country has literally no choice but to vote for the guy who caused the current situation. It's unbelievable. Which is why I keep throwing my name in the ring. Like, put my name on the ballot paper. Just write down James Pope. If 60 million people wrote on the ballot paper, James Pope, they couldn't knock it back. And I can just pardon everyone for vandalising a ballot paper. I can just pardon everyone for it. So nobody gets charged. You know, I win the election. I become neutral Prime Minister. I'm a centrist. I'm not Labour. I'm not Tory. You know, that's the way it should be. But if you vote in these guys, yeah, it's not things. You think things are bad now. You think things are bad now. Whew. You got to remember, these people have made their entire power and wealth off talking to racists about migration. So, if they ever get power, they're going to make it worse to get more money. Because that's all they know. That's all they know is to talk to racists about foreigners to make money. That's all they know.
To the rhetoric, don't they now? You're in charge at
correct.
councils.
And I fully accept our job now in those councils is to start to deliver on some of the things we said, whether it's some of the sort of the cultural issues, like do you want, which flags you want outside buildings, or actually on the real savings. Can we make the savings, £5 and 100 that we've talked about? I have to tell you, having started to lift the lid, the bonnet of some of the council spending, I think we may well have been cautious and just watch the space is all I will say. But
I'm not being funny, but the Tories underfunded every Labour council for 14 years. So all Labour councils are in disarray, absolute despair from funding issues, from being underfunded for 14 years. And then he wants to, make more cuts to councils. So then what will the councils do? They'll raise your council tax. It's not going to work. These people just talk shit. They don't even have a fucking clue. If he cuts money to the council, them councils will raise the council tax to make up the difference. And the money they have then can't be spent on the council stuff like roads, parks, cutting the grass, picking up the rubbish. No. That money gets put elsewhere. Like, why can't we just have people who understand how things work in charge instead of liars? Like, I don't understand why you all just allow liars to run everything. I just don't get it. Don't get it.
We will be talking about significant savings, significant waste and incompetence that is essentially wasting
tax cuts
taxpayers'
cost double what it is that
It won't be, because I'm very confident
you're very
in my
confident
numbers.
in your three anonymous economists. But the OBR...
Frankly, they're better economists than clearly the people at the
I don't know who they are yet.
Well,
you won't tell
I do.
me.
And that...
There's no such thing as a good economist in the UK. I'm sorry, there's not. If there was a good economist in the UK, we would not have national debt. We wouldn't be running on a deficit. We wouldn't have debt. Every year would be a year-on-year profit on a budget. We do not have good economists. What world do you lot live in where we have good economists? We don't. I'm sorry, there's never been a good economist in the last 50 years, because otherwise we wouldn't be in this situation. Every 10 years we have a global recession because the dollar crashes, because the Americans fuck it up as normal, right? And all these major countries all over the world are running on a deficit so that their private companies can pay more tax, right? And the public sector just crumbles away. So eventually there's going to be no public sector and only private sectors, and all these countries will have massive amounts of debt. And who do they owe the debt to? The companies. And how did they pay for it? With the public sector, which no longer exists because the private sector took over. Like, I'm sorry, there is no such thing as a good economist on planet Earth, or we would have countries running on a profit, not a deficit. We don't have the USA and UK has not had a surplus on a budget in like 20 years. It's never had one. So I don't accept that there is such a thing as a good economist in the world at this minute. In the UK and in the USA, don't believe it. That's a fucking myth. They're a unicorn. They don't exist. They might say they're good. They might know what they're talking about, but they don't know how to implement good economics and make the world run correctly.
And that's for me to have that confidence. Where we get things right, celebrate it. Where we get
bell ends.
Things wrong, put our hands up and say, yeah, we're not perfect, we've made mistakes, we'll learn from it and try and not make the same mistake again.
Is one of the mistakes having an 18-year-old running Warwickshire County Council?
No, we've got a fantastic... George Finch is a great guy, and I think that he will turn out to be a very good leader of Warwickshire Council. But look, there's pressure.
18 years old?
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, sometimes you have a fresh face looking at something. He is... I'll say this sort of with respect to him. He's 18, but has the wisdom of someone, frankly, double his age.
Right.
And so...
But no experience, obviously no experience.
Oh, funny, isn't it, though? So you've got all these people, politicians, with experience, PPE degrees coming out of their ears, and what's the result? The result is there's fraud and waste and corruption in councils, and the country is going bust.
Would you put an 18-year-old in cabinet?
There's fraud and waste and corruption at Reform, and in the government, and in the House of Lords, and at Buckingham Palace with King Charles. Like, we don't tend to deal with corruption in this country unless the papers print it. And the papers are corrupt, so they don't print it.
Maybe...
if you're in government, would you put an 18-year-old in the cabinet?
Well, let's wait and see. But what I would say is maybe, Tom, the so-called experts who've been spads and policy wonks in think tanks, maybe they've messed up. Maybe they've completely and utterly led us down the path towards bankruptcy and need some fresh business-like thinking. And that's what we're all about.
Your leader has talked about, Nigel Farage has talked about appointing people into cabinet from outside politics when they've got the relevant experience of whatever. What relative experience or experience commends 19-year-old...
Look, I've already known who my chancellor would be since I was in high school. My old friend George, right? He's called George Lucas, right? And no, not the inventor of Star Wars. But he was so good at maths as a kid, right? He came second in the UK Maths Challenge for our year group and our age bracket. So he was essentially the second best at maths in England for my age, for my generation. And I knew before he even got back and told me that the only person who was ever going to beat him at maths was some Chinese maths whiz. Like, there was no other person in the world would beat him. So I asked him before I finished high school, I said, George, right, if one day, you know, I know it sounds insane, but if I ever become Prime Minister, would you be my Chancellor? And he looked at me like confused, like, why would you want me? Like, because you're good with numbers. I need someone who can tell me the truth with numbers. And I could trust that George would tell me the truth. He wouldn't lie about the numbers because it would be on his head. Like, he would literally just tell me. And his maths is better than anyone I've ever met. So I've already know who my Chancellor is. And he's probably just, you know, working some random job. He's not some fucking celebrity business owner. Like, you don't need these indoctrinated bellends to make a different system. If you get indoctrinated people who have grown up in the system and try to use them to make a new system, they're just going to use the same understanding and apply it, and you'll end up with the same system. It's a continuation. There is no reform. There is no improvement. It's just the same shit done differently. So what you need is people who aren't indoctrinated into that system. You need people outside politics. That's what you need. People, human beings, not machines who have been programmed what to say and how to respond and how to act. No, you need human beings.
Charles Pugsy to run children and family services in Leicestershire.
Well, being closer in touch with young people and what's important to young people, frankly, than me as a 60-year-old. So he could be eminently qualified.
Because he's stopped legally being a child relatively recently. He's got good experience.
Well, let's wait and see. I think
I think it's a bit harsh on the 18-year-old. I think he deserves a chance. Just because, if you want to say that just because he has no experience, because he's 18, right? I mean, that's fine. But you could say the same about a 30-year-old who's walking into the same job and they've never done it before and it's their first job in politics or in council, public service. Like, they don't have any experience. So age discrimination is actually a crime, and I don't understand why you all need to pick on someone. If you can't pick on black people, or you can't pick on the Jews, or you can't pick on the Muslims, then you got to pick on the elderly or the sick or the drug addicts or the disabled. And if you can't pick on any of them, pick on the children. Pick on the fucking children. You lot are all bellends, honestly. All fucking bellends. That is age discrimination. That is a crime. Live on LBC radio that the police should investigate, but never would. And if I rang them about it, I'd then be told to ring LBC and complain to them about it. I'm witnessing a crime, a breach of the Equality Act, and I couldn't even ring the police about it. Because they tell me to speak to the person who committed the fucking crime. That's the world we live in now.
Being a bit ageist about some of this. I mean, all of a sudden you might say...
Ageist is correct. It's age discrimination. 100%.
Legitimately, I'm too old to do politics. Maybe you should actually just judge people by results. They'll get stuck in, they'll get lots right, they'll get some stuff wrong. We'll be honest about that. I just repeat the point. The so-called expert who've been in politics for ages, right, they've completely and utterly messed up the job. The country is in a terrible state. The waste of...
He is right, like, but he's not going to fix it, and neither's Nigel Farage. They're going to continue the problem with a new two-party system, with them as the leader of that two-party system.
Money, the inefficiency, the negligence, the incompetence, the fraud, it sickens me. I'm furious about some of the stuff that I'm seeing, and I think...
Furious! I am furious!
I think the country wants a complete fresh face, and that's what we offer. And
we do want a fresh face, but Nigel Farage is not a fresh face. He's a private school educated prep boy who only went on I'm a Celebrity to try and get a sympathy vote from women, and worked, and now is portraying himself as the guy who will solve all the problems, when ironically he's the one who caused the current mass migration problem. So he isn't responsible for the national debt, you know, he's not responsible for the crumbling public systems, but he was the paid representative of the UK inside the EU, and because he couldn't get policies done, initiated Brexit, which is fine, absolutely fine. But because he was so desperate for Brexit to happen, he helped the Tories implement the current rules, regulations, and laws with his backing of it, his public approval of it. He helped push through the bad deal. Forget the fact he started the Brexit debate, so is the responsible for any bad things from it, right? So we went from having migration figures of 20,000 a year to 1,200,000 a year, 500,000 a year, all because of Nigel Farage's Brexit, right? Regardless of the fact the Tories created the deal and he helped them implement it, without Nigel Farage, it never happens. It never happens. We still have the same old numbers of 20,000, 30,000 illegal migrants every year, and half of them get returned anyway, right? So not all of them end up here anyway. So he's made the current mass migration problem. He's caused it. So for anyone in this country to put their vote to him as the man who's going to solve it, it baffles me. How stupid do you have to be? That's like putting in Boris Johnson to end Thatcherism. It's like putting in Labour to end workers' unions. Isn't that what world he is on? Forget what someone says and watch their actions. Nigel Farage's actions caused all this. If he cared about solving it, why is he not pushing the solution? Why? This could have been solved yesterday. They could have stopped the boats today. There could be no more boats ever again. But why aren't they doing it? Why? Why? It's already solved. I've already done it. Literally already done it. I don't give a fuck what anyone in this country says. It's already solved. Either implement the solution or stop fucking whinging about it.
And that's why we're leading in all the national polls, Tom.
On personnel, one from me. You've lost another MP. You're down to 4 now. Why has James McMurdoch apparently decided to be a permanent independent?
Oh, you'd have to ask James. He's essentially asked to have his whip removed from him last weekend, and he has decided to be an independent. Let's wait and see what happens. But
why though? I mean, you must have asked him.
At the end of the day, there was an investigation which was started by the Sunday Times, and no doubt that will progress. But James has made a decision. He asked to have the whip withdrawn. Of course, these things are always sad and regrettable when they happen, but you just have to deal with them and you move on. All I would say is that if you think about the progress we're making, no one thought we could be leading in the polls. No one thought we could win 10 councils.
Just back to Mr. McMurdo. So he could come back into reform depending on the outcome of this investigation. Investigation into the borrowing of tens of thousands of pounds.
Let's wait and see. But he has made it clear that he wants to remain an independent MP. Let's wait and see.
Was he paying that money back, the loans that he took out under the COVID scheme?
I don't know. One would have to ask. James.
Have you made the inquiry of him? Presumably you have.
Obviously we've said to James there'll be an investigation. And
what's that investigation turned up?
Well, it's only a few days to go. Sorry, that's literally from when we heard about this just last weekend. It's not my sort of remit. I'm not aware that we've heard from him. Let's wait and see.
Talking of other appointments, why has a man who lied about having a PhD, lied about playing professional football, and lied about losing a close family member at the Hillsborough disaster been appointed as your new vice chairman?
What was them lies? Fucking hell, there's some big lies them. What was that? Lied about losing a friend at Hillsborough, lied about having a PhD, and lied about being a professional footballer. Okay. So I've technically lied once, right, about being a semi-professional footballer, but it's because my friend at high school, well, he had finished high school, called Wes, he convinced me that I'd been given a trial for Woking Football Club. Now, I was a naive, stupid boy, so I believed him. So I went round telling people that I had this trial for a semi-professional club and started claiming that. And so, because I didn't, got made out to be a liar. But it's because I believed someone who was wrong, who had lied to me, that I then became the liar. But I didn't know I was lying. It wasn't until I knew it was wrong and started repeating it, that's when it's a lie. If you know something is wrong when you say it, then it's a lie. But if you don't know it's wrong, it's a mistake.
Talk about Paul Nuttall.
But I've never lied about having a PhD. I was definitely a qualified engineer at 17, a qualified network engineer. So, yeah. I don't need to lie about being a professional footballer. I'll beat the professional footballers, even though I'm not a professional. One-on-one me in a court, first to 5 goals. I could beat most professional footballers. Not all, but literally most professional footballers I would beat in a one-on-one, first to 5 goals. Ask Jordan Henderson, he'll tell you.
I'm not familiar with those issues, but all I know is that Paul...
Really? It was in the press for years.
Well...
I remember reporting on them at the time.
Yeah, but look, all I know is that Paul is a very experienced campaigner who will help us as we grow our branches, as we seek 4,000 candidates in next elections.
Given the criticism of Rachel Reeves is that she may have added onto her CV, that criticism can be laid at your vice chairman.
You
lied about having a PhD.
You can lay criticism. None of us are perfect. We've all made mistakes in life. But
lying about playing professional football?
Hey, but here's the thing. I mean, what about living in? If we live in a Christian country, occasionally, we all sin.
This is not a Christian country. It's a pagan country. Christians came over and killed everyone and told everyone that you had to be Christian, otherwise you'd be killed. So everyone became Christian. It was always pagan. It's still pagan. Do you know who the pagans were? The Celtic warriors, the Celtic people, the Celtic societies, and the entire of Britain. The Scottish, the Welsh, and the Irish, and the English were all pagans. We weren't Christians until the Romans came over and started murdering us for not being Christians. So no, we are not a Christian country just because you say so, Mr. Tice. There's more atheists in this country than there is Christians. So how are we a Christian country? Because originally we're a pagan country. And there's more atheists than Christians. So how on this planet are we a Christian country? How? We are not a Christian country. Fuck you.
We're all sinners, Tom, even you. But actually, you can ask...
No, everyone is not a sinner. No, everyone is not a sinner. What a piece of shit propagating his religious bullshit onto us. Everyone is born with the ability to sin, is the quote. That's the fucking quote, right? And it's true. We are all born with the ability to commit evil acts. But not everyone has committed evil acts, have they? Richard Tice, you prick.
You can ask forgiveness and...
Now I understand why every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning there's Christian messages getting posted on GB News. Now I understand. Him.
As a Christian nation, we can forgive people.
So you forgive Rachel Reeves.
We aren't a Christian nation. We are not a Christian nation. We are either a pagan nation or an atheist one. Take your fucking pick.
Forgive Jonathan Reynolds.
Well, I don't forgive Rachel Reeves for ruining the economy.
But on the CV on Jonathan Reynolds, when he apologised for saying that he was solicitor when he wasn't, you forgive him.
They're all sinners.
They're all sinners. No?
Let's see where we go.
Well, so you asked for forgiveness for the guy you've just appointed who lied about a PhD.
And if anyone wants to question if we're a pagan society over a Christian one, okay, what was here first? Stonehenge or Christianity? End of conversation.
Professional football.
They're asking for forgiveness themselves. I mean, what's his face? Mr. Reynolds has he's apologised, I think, in the House of Commons and asked for forgiveness. And at the end of the day, people.
You can't just ask for forgiveness, no. That's Catholicism. That's Catholicism, right? You can't just ask for forgiveness and expect it. You have to earn forgiveness. You have to earn the forgiveness. You can't just be like, oh, am I forgiven, I know I murdered 10 people, but am I forgiven? Oh, Jesus loves me again. Oh, great. No, fuck off. You have to earn forgiveness.
People make mistakes. We're all human. I think it's actually really important in politics. Sometimes people forget we're humans. We've made mistakes in life. But do you know what?
But you just never own up to it. You just try to sweep it under the rug and pretend it never happened. So fuck off, Richard Tice, with your religious bullshit. You're not going to be converting this country to your ideology of Christianity. just like you hope, which is what his intention is, and it's not fucking happening. It's not happening. I will not watch my country become a religious, barbaric state again.
I'd rather.
Is that why you're allowing candidates who failed vetting last time to reapply? Well, they made a mistake last time.
Sometimes actually, what happened, in a sense, we tried to sort of overcompensate. Vetting is always hard, and it's a never-ending process. And I think there were some things where we might have overcompensated, and we learned from that.
So the people who defended the Southport rioters...
The great thing is that we say...
The guy that said people who have circumcisions lead to transgenderism...
We're not perfect, right? But actually, overall, we know what we're talking about. We've been around the block, and we're saying to voters...
An 18-year-old in charge of... He hasn't been around the block.
But
he's just gone off his
bike.
But
he's part of a big team. And people like me who's 60, we have been around the block. We've run big, multinational, billion-pound businesses. Very successful.
Scam businesses. Literally scam businesses.
Hey, Sainsbury.
If those businesses were so successful, why is he not running them instead of being in politics? Oh, that's right, they weren't successful. Do you know what it is? I don't like him. Like, he's trying to project and convert people into Christians through GB News and Reform. Right? I don't like him. He hired the guy who caused the mass migration problem to solve it. Right? I think he's a weak coward, to be honest. I think he's a weak coward. And if you trust him, well, you're a fucking mug. You're a fucking mug.